Welcome CSC 102 class. I'm going to review the color calendar exercise. This may be WD 06 or 07. It may be even WD 08. I'm not sure at this point exactly what number exercise it'll be, but it's the color calendar and we're going to do it with a table. And that's what we're looking at right here. This is October 2016, so it's fall 2016. And obviously this changes every semester because the calendar changes. October has 6 weeks in it. It starts in the first week and ends in the 6th week. This changes a little bit each semester, but right now we're going to work on this one. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a table that basically has 8 rows. It actually has 6 rows of just the days, starting with the first row that has 1 and the last row that has 30 and 31. And then there's 2 extra rows at the top. One just has a title of whatever month it is, and then the second row has the days of the week. And then we just do some coloring here that we're going to do with some borders and shading. And it's just working with a table, just getting familiar with the table just a little bit. So we're going to do this and we're going to create it from scratch. So there's no file to download. We're just going to start a new file in Word and we're going to do it with a table. And we're going to have 7 columns, which because there's 7 days of the week, and then there's going to be 8 rows. So I'm going to go over into Windows. I'm in the Mac version right now, but I'm going to go over into Windows. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch Word, and I'm going to do this in Word 2013. And I'm just going to start a new blank document, and I'm going to follow the instructions for our color calendar exercise. So we're going to make a new document, and the first thing to do, and it's very important that we do this, is that we go to page layout and we change both the margins and the orientation. The margins we're going to put at 1 inch, and it may be there already, but I'm going to make sure they're at 1 inch. And the orientation, we're going to make sure that it's landscape, so that our calendar can kind of go across the page. So it's going to go wider than it is high. So we're going to do that with our calendar. We're going to start like that with 1 inch margins all around. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a table. We're not going to type anything. We're just going to insert a table. So we go to our Insert tab, and we're going to go over here to Table, and I'll click down here. Now you can actually highlight these things to pick how many rows and columns. I don't like using that, so I'm just going to use this command that says Insert Table. And then I'll just manually put in 7 columns because that's across, and then rows going down there's actually 8. Remember, we have the 2 and then the 6 for the days of the week, and you could just leave this on auto for now. So I'm going to hit OK, and there's my table. Now when this starts off, it actually does it so basically you could fit 1 character in here. So that's why it's so tight right now. It's auto fitting, so whatever you type in here will only fit in there. But what we're going to do, and it's actually auto spreading across the page over to the 1 inch margins, and it's making equidistant kind of columns in between. But we're going to adjust the height of some of these. Number 5 on our instructions, we're going to highlight these 2 columns over here, and you could go over to the side over here and highlight over here. When you highlight over here, what we're going to do is we're going to go to, you can see it says Table Tools up here. We're going to go to, and there's some things you could do with tables here, but we're going to go to Layout. And we're just going to change our height to 0.25. We're going to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to put in 0.25. And I'll hit Enter. And you can see it made it a little bit bigger. And as I make these bigger, just for example, if I kept doing that, you can see our text actually is aligned at the top. So I'm going to make this go back down again. And I'll put it at 0.25. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to center my text. Now there's alignment tools over here, or icons, and they basically allow you to align left and right and up and down, so horizontally and vertically. If you go right in the middle, it'll do both. So it'll line up and down and left and right, and that's for each cell that it's in, but we're actually going to merge some cells. 7 is actually going to be merging the top row. So I'm going to click on this top row over here, and I'm just going to merge cells. And there's an icon here to merge cells, and that basically kind of wipes out all the different cells and makes it go into one cell. It combines all the cells together. So, and you can undo that. You can split the cells up and put them back if you need to. But this is where we're going to put our title in here. So I'm just going to type in here and type the October 2016, and I'm also going to highlight this so that, and I'm going to change the font. Now you can right click on here and use this little mini toolbar to change the font. I sometimes will just go back to the Home tab, and I'm going to go down to Arial Black. Now Arial Black is a font. It's not Arial Bold with the black color. Arial Black's like a heavy font. So I'm going to use Arial Black, and you don't make that bold. It's already a bold font, an extra bold font. On our instructions, it says to make that 18 point. So I'll make that 18 point, and that's our first row there, and that's all we have to do for that. And then I'm going to move along to number 9, and I'm skipping this one right now. I'm highlighting these rows these are where all our days are, and we're going to make them bigger so they actually can fit in the days of the week. So I'm going to change my height to 0.8, and I'm only using 0.8 because I use, sometimes I'll do them like an inch high, but because we have the extra week in here, it goes off the page if you try to make it any bigger than that. I think even 0.85 makes it go off the page. So we'll do it 0.8. It'll all fit on our page nicely right now. So that's big enough just for just to have days of the week in here. And what we're going to do with this still highlighted, with all these rows still highlighted, what we're going to do is change the font. So I'm just going to go over to my home tab and I'll make it Arial black, and I'll adjust the size, make sure that it's 12. It's showing 11 by default, so I'll make it 12 right now. And that way when we type in our numbers, they'll all be in 12-point Arial black. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go up here and I'm going to type in my days, and I could even make this, I'll make this 12-point Arial black as well. And I'm not worried about colors yet, and I'm just going to put the days of the week in here, starting with Sunday. And what you could do, you could hit your tab key to bump over so that you could do Sunday and then do Monday, and then I'll pause here and finish them up. But you could hit tab to just jump from cell to cell. Okay, there's my days of the week. And if these little things bother you, you could turn off the show, you could put on the show high button, turn them off for now. That's what it looks like so far. And I'm going to put my days of the week. Now, remember, this starts with 1 October. In the fall starts on a Saturday, and it's going to go all the way down. And what you could do is you could hit your tab key. So you could go tab 2, tab 3, tab 4, tab 5, tab 6, tab 7, tab 8, tab 9. You'll even go to the next row, tab 10, and so on. You could keep hitting tab, so it doesn't take that long to put the numbers in there. Okay, I have all my days in here now. I started with the 1 on Saturday and 31st on a Monday. That's Halloween. That's where we'll end it, on a Monday. So I have all my days in here, and you could put other days for the previous or future months if you want to and make them gray. But this is basically kind of the wireframe of our calendar right now, and what we're going to do next is basically color it, and we're going to use borders and shading for that, and that may be on the second page of your notes. We're going to add some colors, and we'll use orange since we're, you know, October and kind of Halloween. We're going to do that a little bit. So what I'm going to do with this first row here is I'm going to give it kind of a light orange color. So I'm going to go to, you could use the paint bucket here and shade it, or you could use these table tools and go to design, and you actually have your shading right here. And I'll do that way, and I'll do like kind of a light orange. And it looks kind of dark right now. That's because I'm on it, but when you click off it. So I'm going to use kind of a light orange like that. Now for these other rows, I'm going to click here and then hold Control, and I'll hold Control and Control again, so I do every other row, and I'm going to shade those rows the same color. So I'll use my shading up here, and it shades those rows, so it kind of gives it some variety in here. And I'm also going to highlight this row up top, and I'm going to give it a dark orange. I'll give it a darker orange up here. Now you can see when I make that dark orange, it's hard to read those names, the days of the week, so I'll highlight that and just make the font white and use this font icon, or you could go to the home tab and I'll make them white. And that's the way I want it to look, so that the names stand out. They're nice and have nice contrast right now. And one of the last things I'm going to do in here is we want to change the border on here, so we have a nice thick dark orange border. And to do that, I'm going to click on, you see this little icon here, it's a 4-sided arrow. That selects the table. I'm going to select that. And you could do one of two things. You could right click and you could choose table properties, or you can click on here and you could look for table properties under layout. Table properties is over here. Either way, you want to get to table properties, and make sure you're on your table tab, and I'm going to do borders and shading. I'll click on borders and shading, and this is pretty easy. Just make sure you're on all, and you could see that all the borders are selected here. Now I'm going to make this thicker. It's like a 1/2 point, which is really thin. I'm going to change it to like 2 1/4. I'll make it nice and thick, and you can see it shows up thicker here. And I'm going to change the color from automatic to be that kind of dark orange that I was using for that second row. And 2 1/4 is fine, so I'm going to hit OK, and I'll hit OK again. And you can see that added a nice dark border to my calendar. And we're almost done. The only last thing we're going to do here is we're going to add an image in the 31, and we're just going to copy and paste it from the web. So I'm just going to go and launch Firefox and just copy an image. Anyway, I'm going to search for just pumpkins, and I'm going to click on images for pumpkins. Now when you'll see all kinds of images. You may see clip art. You could even put in clip art, because some of these images might be higher resolution. And I'll even put in something that's higher resolution just to see. But if you're not sure, if you hover over one of these, You can see that number says 393 by 365. That's in pixels. So, you know, that's a fairly big image. And if it's something that it's like 1,000 or more, it's going to be a really big image. So if you want some, let me check out this one. This one's 1,000 by 1,000. This, you know, so that's pretty big. And let me just show you what happens. If you click on this, you'll see the large size image. And and it says a pumpkin pink transparent. We'll see what it looks like. I'm just going to right click and do copy image. And then I'm going to go back to Word, and I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to paste image. And you could do a Control V, or you could use your Home tab and use this little paste icon here, and just hit the paste button to paste it in there. And you can see it gets gigantic. And I'm just going to click on it and make it smaller and grab on the bottom corner. And as you make it smaller, it'll kind of resize your calendar again. And if you make it smaller than it needs to be, your calendar won't get any smaller. But you can see my dates getting messed up. So what I actually want to do, I'll make this pumpkin really small, and then I'm going to double click on it and go over where it has wrap text, and I'll change wrap text to be in front of text. And what that does is it tries not to push any text away from it. I'm going to make this a little bigger to fit in here right now. And it's right next to the 31, but it doesn't push the 31 away. Now you may find images that have a white background, and that's okay. What I recommended doing on that is to like just go in this cell and change the background of the cell like to white. We could do it with this one too. So you could change that cell to white, and then you could even change the color to like that dark orange if you want to. That's what we did on the sample. We kind of did that. So we just made this one cell. Before we shaded the rows, but here we're just shading one cell. And always use the paint bucket for shading and use the text icon for that. So that's all we're really doing here. I think that's pretty much it for this exercise. So not a long exercise, but a little experience with tables. Tables can be a little tricky. So we start with an easy one here just to get familiar with tables.